Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It is June 22nd, 2016. And here's a look at our top stories.
Tonight, the New Republic says Trump's speech sounded like an INFOWARS article? Yep. Hard-hitting, pulled no punches, and he backed up what he said.
She gets rich, making you poor. These funds were paid to the Clintons' bank account directly while Hillary was negotiating with China on behalf of the United States.
Then, congressional Democrats holding a sit-in while a marshmallow lefty blogger whines that an AR-15 bruised his shoulder. Oh. And the vote on whether Britain will leave the European Union will be held tomorrow. Lord Monckton explains why Brexit is part of the movement against the globalist efforts to eradicate democracies worldwide. All that and more on tonight's INFOWARS Nightly News.
Joe Biggs here with INFOWARS.com with an extremely important message. You're probably asking yourself right now, what's the most important phrase in America right now? Well, it happens to be Hillary for prison. Get your Hillary for Prison t-shirt today at the INFOWARS store for $9.95. That's half of what it used to be at $19.95. Why do you want to get this? Why should you buy this for you and your friends and family? Because number one, it's a great conversation starter. And number two, hell, you get to trigger a whole lot of crazy liberal commie bastards. And that's what I like to do. And maybe you're just at work right now and it's Casual Shirt Friday and one of your hipster buddies walks in with a Hillary Clinton shirt saying I'm with her. Negative. This is what you're going to do. You're going to stand up and go, Hillary for prison! Benghazi!
What difference at this point does it make?
Go to InfoWarsStore.com and get your Hillary for Prison shirt today for $9.95 and trigger more assholes like him.
Come on, Hillary. Just a little sip. Open up. Come on, take it. Take it!
Everywhere I look, I see the possibilities of what our country could be. But we can't solve any of these problems by relying on the politicians who created the problems themselves. We'll never be able to fix a rigged system by counting on the same people who have rigged it in the first place.
And that was just one of the snippets from Donald Trump's speech today. Now, it was a few weeks ago he promised that he was going to come after Hillary, and at the time he said it would be around then. But it seems like now is the time for Mr. Trump. He's coming out guns blazing, if you will. And it's getting to the point where people are talking all about this speech, different parts of it. But my favorite article, David Knight gave this to me a little bit earlier. Donald Trump just gave his most presidential speech, and it still sounded like an INFOWARS article, which I thought was quite the laugh there. Now, in the speech, he said many things. He also said Mrs. Clinton was corrupt and rigged, and he got a good line in. This is their words on the New Republic. Hillary Clinton got rich making you poor. So this is what they decided to point out about Mr. Trump's speech. And they say Trump's case was riddled with lies, BS, and conspiracy theories. He relied heavily on one widely discredited book, Clinton Cash. Now, I haven't personally read the Clinton Cash, so I can't really speak to its validity. But the issue is anything that they don't like is discredited. And I was talking to one of the guys in the back. He was saying that his friend hates INFOWARS, hates Donald Trump. And once again, I'm not a Trump guy, but they hate everything we stand for, but they love Mrs. Clinton, but they get all their news from CBS, which I thought was really funny because if you just go to the CBS thing, you see these big banners. I'm with her. I love Hillary. You know, everything's about Hillary Clinton, you know, hugging puppy dogs and, you know, handing out cake to poor kids and all that stuff. But the issue is, if you go back to the archives of CBS, they have this great thing. I think it was Cheryl Atkinson, as a matter of fact. Mrs. Clinton, when she was in Bosnia, saying that she was dodging sniper fire. And Trump mentioned that in his speech today as well. This person who wants you to trust them to run the free world throws out this whopper of a lie. This isn't, you know, some itty bitty thing like slightly out of proportion, slightly sensationalized. She took an event that never happened, just like Lion Brian Williams, and said, oh, we were dodging sniper fire. And if you go back and watch those videos, she stops and she gets flowers and she's signing autographs for little girls. Then it goes way beyond that. The reason why I don't like Hillary Clinton. Also, when you talk about Benghazi, and they try to downplay Benghazi, because this is my argument to people. Let's say that the email scandal is completely overblown. Other people do it, whatever else. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. I'll take that argument, but at the same time, Benghazi has been greatly underplayed. Because if you look at the situation with Ambassador Stevens, they want to tell you that it was, some anti-Muslim film that was basically like a live-action version of South Park that set people off and they decided to go burn down the Benghazi consulate. Well, if you read the cable sent by Ambassador Stevens months before he was actually murdered, he was sending these cables, hey, I feel unsafe here, we need more security. And what they do, they responded by giving him less security. So those are things I don't like about Mrs. Clinton going back through her history. It's not anything cosmetic like she wears pantsuits or anything that they want to spin off on that. And it's not just that where they're talking about Hillary Clinton. Now people are taking exception to a great piece of marketing, I guess you could say, the Hillary for Prison t-shirt. And they're coming after the t-shirt here in Slate, and they're talking about the story of a professional poker player and a contestant on Survivor was standing at the entrance. This is in Vegas to one of the Trump's speech. And she was wearing a Hillary for Prison t-shirt 2016. And they were just so shocked and offended and triggered and all the rest of it because she had a Hillary for Prison t-shirt. You have the right to wear what kind of t-shirt you want. And this is my argument with that. If you could say that Trump is Hitler and Ted Cruz is a Zodiac killer, and you can say Bernie Sanders is Colonel Sanders and all the other memes that are out there with all the other presidential contenders that, have since dropped off. But regardless, if you can make fun of those people, why can't you say that Mrs. Clinton should go to prison? And I think that's just a great way. Thank you so much. What is this? Slate for hyping up the shirt. And it just so happens that we're running a special on the shirt right now at the INFOWARS shop. You can get yourself a great Hillary for Prison t-shirt, and you get the second one for 75% off. That is a limited time deal. And it's a great way to meet like-minded people. You can make Slate mad, and you can be the star of the show for just showing up with your Hillary for Prison t-shirt. You can get the official INFOWARS one. There are other, third-party ones, but you can get our official one at the INFOWARS shop. And it's a great way to piss off a liberal. So get your Hillary for Prison t-shirt today. All right, now let's move on to some other news, some more serious news. As we talk about things the DOJ does. Now, a lot of times when I speak about the DOJ, it's usually not in the most polite ways, whether it's, Fast and Furious, many other scandals as well. But now we see this. DOJ touts 90 million Medicare fraud takedown, the largest ever. The government says 300 people have been charged this year in healthcare fraud sweeps across the country. That includes physicians, clinic owners, and other healthcare professionals accused of bilking Medicare. In all, the fraudulent billings allegedly totaled $900 million, the Justice Department said. Authorities called it the largest ever national Medicare fraud dragnet. More than 55 million people receive Medicare. So just as we see here, nothing is immune to corruption. People can take advantage of the system. They can game the system. Like they said, the people here were clinic owners and doctors and other people who participated in this fraud. So when you go to the hospital and you think you're getting the best deal and they're trying to help you out, I'm sure most of them are. I will say that. I'm sure most of them have the best of intentions, but you do have those who game the system and they try to steal from you. And it's, as I've heard it described by many people, it's really not health care, it's sick care. Because if you think about this, and once again, I'm sure doctors, nurses, people in the medical field have the best of intentions. I'm talking about the trickle-down effect of the people who actually make the drugs or, do the procedures or regulate the procedures, I guess, is more of what I was getting at there. You can cure somebody of a disease, let's say you can cure somebody of a disease in 3 years, or you can treat them for 30 years or until they die. Which of those has more money in it? It's, you bilk the system, as it were. There's no money in curing somebody when you can treat them for a lifetime, but they say that's a conspiracy theory, so you believe what you want. I think there are definitely ways out there that are not the traditional westernized medicine when it comes to getting yourself better. Now, let's talk about getting something better, and that is the reputation of the AR-15. It has been demonized unmercilessly since Orlando, but if you go back to previous shootings here in fairly recent American history, people have actually used the AR-15, but it was not used in Orlando. And because it looks similar enough to an AR-15 to the layman, they keep saying it was an AR-15, there's an AR-15. So much to the point that liberals are actually going out and shooting these guns and saying, how traumatized they are by it. Now, real quick, this is just something off the top of my head. I remember when Piers Morgan came down here, was it 2012, 2013? A lot of us in the crew, we went down there to see him at Houston, and he had that conversation with Alex. And he's shooting a fully automatic gun, and you can see clearly in the video that he is trying not to smile. He's having a great time shooting all these guns. Probably went out and had some, barbecue afterwards, got some spurs and a cowboy hat and the whole nine. But he wants to say that, you shouldn't really have these killing machines. But specifically, I want to mention somebody who shot an AR-15 and said it was so detrimental to their health. It hurt their shoulder and it gave him PTSD, even though you can see, skinny, 16-year-old high school girl shooting them on YouTube just fine. But this guy said that it gave him PTSD and it made him feel bad and it, hurt his shoulder and all this. And this is a rebuttal to that. This is the guy who actually said, I'm not going to shoot the gun on my shoulder. I'm going to shoot it on my nose. And you can see how that works out.
Video in response to Mr. Kunson's article, which I'm going to link with the video. The article said shooting an AR-15 was terrifying, caused a case of PTSD, and bruised his shoulder. Now, as I'm about to demonstrate, the recoil on this rifle cannot cause bruising on your shoulder, even if held improperly. Let me put my ear protection in real quick, and we will demonstrate. I'm going to fire this weapon off the tip of my nose. Not broken, not bleeding, not bruised. Thank you for your time.
Now, earlier this week, we brought you the news how many gun control bills failed, and now they're actually having a sit-in to bring attention to gun control, and this is being led by Congressman John Lewis. It says sometimes you have to do something that's out of the ordinary. Sometimes you have to make a way out of no way. And then basically they say that they started chanting, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and no bill and no break, while they were out there protesting the failure of the gun bills. Now, I'm sure if you went out and talked to all these people individually, you'll get different answers as to what they think is the best answer to gun violence in this country. But this is what I always tell people. They say, well, how can you be for all the gun violence in the country? I was like, I'm not for gun violence in the country. I'm not for liquor store robberies. Joe Biggs is not for shooting up a school. Alex Jones is not for bank robberies. Nobody is touting gun violence as the way to go. We support self-defense. We support the Second Amendment. We support the right to bear arms. As I always say, the shotgun in my closet has never shot anybody, and I hope it never will. It's there in case I need it. Now, with that said, these people have to understand that with the bills that they were trying to pass here recently, which one of those would have passed, if passed, would have stopped the recent shooting in Orlando? Because you're talking about a guy who went through the background check system. He had been looked at by the FBI. People even called the FBI on him. Multiple people who said they had a relationship with him of whatever kind said, hey, this guy went to my mosque, or they were in a romantic relationship with him, whatever. They were calling the police, say, hey, I think this guy is dangerous. You need to look at him. So you have all this stuff going on. How did any of that stop the shooting that took place? The background checks wouldn't have done it. Banning assault weapons that are already banned, that wouldn't have done anything. I just don't understand the logic of the people who keep saying we need to ban things, like Hillary coming out and banning sniper rifles. The guy didn't use a sniper rifle. It's obvious if you look at it, that's not what it is. So people keep trying to pass things that would have done nothing to stop that shooting. You need to look at other aspects as to what motivated the guy in the first place, not saying that because this guy owned a gun that looks similar to an AR-15, we have to take an AR-15 from everybody else, the millions of other people who own them and have had no incident with them. It makes absolutely no sense. As I always say, it's easy to ban something you don't own or an activity that you don't participate in. I always give the example, I don't drink. I could say, let's ban alcohol tomorrow. And everybody else would say, well, let's not do that because we had an alcohol prohibition and that didn't work out. And I would say you're exactly right. You had people, violent crime shot up overnight. You had other things going on, bootleggers, the speakeasies and all that. It wasn't a very effective way to go about it. The same thing's going to happen if you come out and just blanket ban all the firearms. And as we were talking about Congressman John Lewis there, I really think that the guy should take a look at his own personal life when you come to these background checks and saying if you have no fly, you have no buy, because he's actually on the no fly list. And this is a United States congressman. He reports that he had been denied access to an airplane at least 35 times. And this is a congressman. Like I said, we talked